Welcome to the Andrea Giovino Show. I want to continue to thank all my subscribers that continue to subscribe. And today we have on a special guest. I'm changing it up a little bit because I'd like to give you a woman's point of view on what it's like to be with a street guy. I have on my beautiful, gorgeous friend, Laura Kahn. And Laura, I wanted to give the audience, which is mostly male, what it's like and what you endured being with a street guy in a relationship. I know in the beginning of the relationship, a lot of these men, I call it, like they say now, the love bombing stage, and it's great. And I'm going to open it up to you to speak with us.
Right. So I had dated my fair share of street guys. One of them I had been with for quite many years. I have a child with him. And yes, the beginning of the relationship was very alluring. Very alluring.
Grab you in.
They grab you in. I grew up in the Bronx. I grew up around that lifestyle. And the whole, it was just glamorous, you know, to see men, you know, typical big, beautiful cars. I was like 20s.
The money,
the women,
the attention,
the fur coats, you know, it was glamorized. And we always heard the other side of it, the crime, the jail visits, all that stuff. So the gentleman that I was involved with, yes, he love bombed me. Gifts, you know, all beautiful things. The beginning was really lovely. And then as we started getting deeper into the relationship, all the abuse started. He was also sought after for a crime. And a good part of the beginning of the relationship, he was in hiding. And he couldn't go certain places. Wow. He was just always afraid. He was like a punk. He also had a very bad drug problem, and it just wasn't the best life. He was very abusive. He would hit me and then take care of me. And it was this constant.
It's so confusing. I know, because it's like a roller coaster. It's up, it's down. And when you're that young, you really don't know what healthy and what sick is. You don't know what a healthy relationship is. You think that if someone says, I love you, but that's not the kind of love that you want.
Right. And I grew up seeing abuse. I grew up, my stepdad was also affiliated, and he was verbally abusive to my mom. So
you attracted that.
Totally. That's what I thought was normal. Like, I had a normal relationship with the guy. He was really a good guy. But there was something inside of me, it just didn't sit well. I wasn't comfortable. But then when I met this other gentleman and he was abusing me, it felt normal because that's what I saw growing up. Yeah. And yes, it was just a roller coaster.
And I think in the beginning, because this has happened to me, that in that love bombing stage, they're so charismatic and they're so like into you, and nothing else matters.
Everything.
And it's like the gifts and, you know, the jewelry and the attention and the let's dinners and vacations. But then all of a sudden it drops, it goes, and then that's it. Once they have you in that, like that
their web,
yeah, right. And then it's like you feel empty inside,
and you're it's like you're like, wait a minute, but I don't understand. And it's like you're on this hamster wheel to try and get back to that. It's like, no, what can I do?
It's so funny because a lot of women say that they stay, and I'm guilty of that too. You stay because you go back to thinking, well, he was good at the beginning and maybe he could be that again. But that's just the tactic that they use. Yeah.
Totally.
That's like a lot of narcissists do that, the narcissistic behavior.
Right. So in my adult years, I had, being older, got into another situation like that. And I started to research because I was like, I don't understand this, right? So narcissism, that's
Yeah.
like the new
Right.
word, that came up. But when I started reading about it and researching, I was like, this was my
Exactly.
right.
Right.
So, I spent a good chunk of the relationship when I was this younger relationship on the hamster wheel. And the abuse would get
And
worse.
especially you had a child. When
I
you have a
did.
child, as I did, you want it to work.
Right.
You came from a broken home, so you want it to work.
Right. And then coming from the Italian background,
Yes.
it's like we never give up.
Right.
We go till
Right.
we're just
Well, you want it to
hanging.
work.
Right. But on the flip side of it, it's like you're beating the shit out of me every day.
Right.
And it's like I have this life. I have a child that it's like, okay, what am I doing? I'm going to get beat up and make my daughter grow up seeing this? Or
Well, how is your daughter with it now?
so her relationship with her dad is definitely strained because he unfortunately emotionally abused her.
Yeah, they say that the narcissistic, they do that, like that personality disorder.
Yeah.
They send it off to the next generation,
Yeah.
to their children.
Yeah, she struggled with mental health as a teenager. It was difficult for her, and she had to come to terms with her father and who and what he is, and she struggled a lot with it.
It's hard because then it's all put on you. It's all
Right.
put on the mom.
Always.
I know that's how I always felt. It was always all put on me. And, a lot of women, and they do a lot of those types of personalities, they stray also. They all like stray, with other women. And because they constantly need their personality to be, fulfilled and glam, they
Yes.
want all the attention.
Right, right,
All the
right.
attention has to be on them.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
I love, I've been single for many, many, many years, and people say to me, "Why don't you date?" I have no desire. I have such a full life with my
Yeah.
adult kids, my
Yeah.
grandkids,
Yeah.
my life, my podcast. I'm busy, and I don't have time for nonsense. And I think that there's a lot of nonsense,
Agreed.
and to find a really genuine person, it's very, very hard. But one thing I feel with age, and I would hope this for any young woman, is learn the red flags. Like I
100%.
know if I met somebody today and he started showering me with gifts immediately and smothering me, that's what my ex did. That's not what it's supposed to be like.
No.
That's the love bombing stage. And then you always stay thinking, I want it to go back to that.
It's never going back.
And it never goes back
It's
to
a
that.
mask. It's a facade.
But then a lot of women do stay.
They do, because I feel that
But
they
that
get into
affects
the
your
trap.
health. It definitely affects your health. It affected my health.
Absolutely. It's just being smart enough to get out of it and just having that self-esteem. Like, I don't need to stay here.
It's the self-esteem. You have to
Totally.
have the self-esteem to be able to pick yourself up and say, this is not good. This is just not good for me. But I think a lot of women stay because they don't want to be alone. But it's nice to be
Agreed.
alone.
It's not a bad thing at all. I think for me,
I'm the best I've ever been.
right. I think that in my younger relationship with this abuse, I had gotten to the point where I was contemplating killing him.
Wow.
Like, I was
Right.
plotting.
Oh, yeah. A lot of women that
Right.
think that.
And I was like, no, I have to get out because I have a child and
Right.
I'm going to be in jail.
Exactly.
And I was like, it's time
And
to
there's
go.
a lot of lies. A lot of lies. The lies. I remember my ex used to look in my face and swear on my kids. Swear. And I knew the facts. You're lying. But I couldn't live with that. I just couldn't live with that
No.
because it was affecting my health, as I said. And
Yeah.
if it comes down to you or me, I'm picking me. I'm
Right.
going to save me, not you. So
How long were you in that relationship for?
my husband, I was young, and then he was incarcerated. He went away. We were together before he went away. I had the two kids,
Yeah.
Brittany and Keith.
Yeah.
Met them. And he came out, and I figured, all right, after 11 years, let me give him a chance. I really believed he was changed. I really wanted to believe he was changed. And I
Yeah.
figured he'd really appreciate his family. But they don't change. They just don't change. So then I wasted another, I think, 10 years, 11 years of my life. And now I'm away from him a good, I think it's 10 years now.
How did you finally get away?
I just had it.
Yeah,
With
yeah,
age
yeah.
and everything.
Yeah,
I just was
yeah.
like, you know what? The kids were grown. He was lying about everything. He's always straying,
Yeah, yeah.
And I just felt this is not what I want. I would call him a street angel and a house devil. Because people in the streets love him and think he's this great guy.
But that's the whole
that he's not.
facade,
He's
right?
really not.
Right. That's their big thing.
Yeah, and I think that I've developed. I always went to therapy to find myself, and to have I feel therapy is an objective point of view.
Yes.
That they don't take sides and they can tell you how things are. And then with church, I'm a practicing Catholic. I'm always very close to my priest. That I talk with my priest about stuff, and I just was to a point that I had enough. I mean, between all of your pre-prison stuff that I dealt with.
Yeah.
And then coming out and thinking you're going to be this great guy. And then he would always try to rationalize it and like, well, I built this big business and look what I gave you and look what? It's not I'm not like a piece of like jewelry, like a material. Things are not going to make me happy. That's not what I want.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
always if he wasn't like in AA or some kind of, he was always like entrenched in something else other than his family. He was never available to his family. And I don't think that changes. I think that's just who they are.
Agreed.
And until you get to the point of your self-esteem is up here, and that's where my self-esteem is today, I will not put up with no nonsense. I don't put up with no nonsense from him today. I set standards that he's not allowed to go to my daughter's house when I'm there. He used to come in and out of my house like he still owned it. No, get out and don't come back.
I love it.
I divorced you for a reason. There's a reason I divorced you. Don't come back.
Right.
So I think that
Yeah.
I'm in the best place I could possibly be in now, and I feel fulfilled, and I don't feel I need a significant other to make me feel whole. I don't need that.
I love that.
So with women, they need to get to that point to say, I'm more important than you.
Yeah, and I think that again, also taking away the whole stigma of how we were raised.
Right.
Right? I ended up getting married to a really great guy when I was in my 30s. We're not together now for whatever reasons, but I always felt like I got married because I conformed. Because I never felt like I had to be married. Like when I got away from that relationship, that first relationship, I had a great job. I was taking care of my daughter and I. Like I was in the best financial place I could be in my life. And it was her and I. And I was doing it with no child support, because he was a bum. I had to fight him in court for that. That was a whole other
chapter.
Forget it. And I was like, my life was great. And then, like I said, I got married because I feel like it's what I should have done, not what I really wanted to do. And I think that's another thing
That's
that
like an
women...
Italian thing.
Totally.
It's an Italian
What
thing.
do you mean you're not married? You're 30 years old.
I know.
And I was
But
like,
it's a good thing when you're not married because I know for me, a lot of it affected my health, the stress, just the stress alone with that type of personality affects your stress. It just does.
Totally.
And as I was getting older, my kids even said, this is just not good for your health. He's always with his friends. This is a man at the time in his 50s.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
We have, adult kids. You need to be home. Never home, always out in the streets. You know what? That's where you want to be. Go.
Exactly.
And I just said to my kids just about a week ago, it was the best decision I've made for myself. And I get angry that I stayed even too long. I shouldn't have stayed as long as I stayed.
Yeah.
But it's the manipulation.
Right. And
A
they're
lot of
so
manipulation.
good at it.
And lies.
lies. You know, I always,
If you're not a woman that's a street, like has street smarts,
yeah,
you're going to get
sucked right up.
rolled over and rolled over by this type of personality. And I kind of feel bad for those types of women
Yeah.
because they don't have the strength and they don't know and they keep staying and staying
Yeah.
and staying. And when you stay, your self-esteem goes lower, lower, and lower. And it's so hard then to get out of that sick, because it's not a healthy relationship.
It's not. After I had my daughter, I weighed 220 pounds. I was eating and eating.
From
and
depression.
Right. And then all of a sudden, so, you know, St. Anthony.
Yes.
Right. So I got into this mode where I started to pray to St. Anthony to help me to find my way out. And every day.
And prayers work.
That was my
Yes.
mantra. Every day, St. Anthony helped me. Every day, every day, every day. And then finally I started losing weight. And then all of a sudden everything started to click for me. And I was like, I'm out of here. I was like, I'm done. I packed my daughter up. She was like 2 or 3. And my mother lived like 3 blocks away from us. I threw, like, it sounds so dramatic, but I threw everything into her carriage. And we walked to my mother's and I never looked back. And he tortured my life. Orders of protections, cops. He
Wow.
he was such a nightmare. Like I was afraid for a while, but then I was like, I'm not living like this. And then I became friends with some people and they threatened him. Like one guy grabbed him by the throat and was like, leave her,
Stop, leave her alone.
you know, that's
Yeah.
it. But he was relentless for many years, even after I got married. So
Wow. Yeah, it's I think we go through stuff like that and then we become out of it the type of woman we're supposed to be. And I'm a woman's woman. I'm always like building women up,
Yeah.
complimenting other women, and always helping women to be the best they could possibly be. Because that's what we're supposed to do. When you feel good about yourself, you want other women to feel good about themselves. And I think, truthfully, more women should be that way and not be envious or jealous if someone's pretty and beautiful. You tell them that's your
Right.
sister, you know?
Right.
So we go through that and it's hard, but we learn from it. And now at least if you do decide to have a relationship, you could know what you want in that relationship and pick what you want in that relationship.
Absolutely.
You know, I could see the red flags in a person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we become aware of that. And, you know, it's a good thing.
Oh no, absolutely.
thing.
I absolutely.
And it makes you strong.
Absolutely. I learned a lot. I mean, I definitely became so much more resilient. Like I always say, my daughter saved my life because I was in such a depression. Like I didn't want to live anymore. And then going through postpartum, which when I had her, nobody talks about postpartum,
No, you didn't
right?
even hear about that.
So here I am going through this abusive relationship,
And then on top of that,
postpartum.
yeah.
Like I don't want to sound like this, but I was ready to throw myself out the
I
window.
know, but is that scary?
And no, and I never spoke about it to anybody because I didn't understand it. And like I said, I was like, what is happening? But yeah, I agree with you with lifting women up. I think that this conversation is great because I think that people need to hear this part of it.
They
And
do.
you know, it's
Because it happens not just in the Italian culture, in all cultures
Agreed.
of men
agreed.
that do this. And, you know, women need to stand up for themselves, be strong, you know, and be who we're supposed to be, you know. Especially a lot of Italians, like the women should keep their mouth shut and like the husband, no, I'm not, I have a big mouth, I'm going to use it.
Same.
And I'm not shutting it.
Same.
So,
Same.
um,
Yeah.
and that's what we're supposed to do, stick up for ourselves. And what kind
Right.
of role model would you be for your daughter? That's only going to make it go on to the next generation. Like,
Right.
look what my mom's enduring. What am I supposed to take?
Right. And that's what I tell both of my daughters. I'm like, listen, if you don't want to get married and you meet somebody and you love them and you just want to exist, do it. If you want, like, do what makes you happy.
Right.
And don't tolerate
Right.
disrespect and
No.
abuse and this and that. That's it.
No.
Bottom line. So
No, it shouldn't be. Well, I'm so glad you came on today.
Thank you for having
It was so lovely
me.
to be
It's good to see
to be
you.
open and be able to tell your story
Thank
on
you.
a platform for other women to hear. Thank you so much, Laura. I love having you, and we'll have you on again.
Yay.
Thank you. Continue to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.